So continuing the conversation on Jumpstart Agora, this one is around everything that's got to do with CI/CD and streamlining the software delivery. Super interesting topic. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Leo's here with another Jumpstart Lightning episode, continuing the video series for Jumpstart Agora. And today I have Seif with me, another core maintainer of the project. Seif, how are you doing, my friend?
All good, Leo. Excited to be here.
Seif, I remember the previous time that you were here, it wasn't around continuous integration and continuous delivery, but this one was a big one. We'll talk about all this stuff. But before we go and do that, Seif, who you are, what is it that you do?
Sure. So my name is Seif Bassem. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. My role is to really help customers and our cloud solution architects deliver value solutions to our customers when it comes to Azure. And as you mentioned, I'm also a core maintainer of the Jumpstart project.
Seif, the continuous integration and continuous delivery topic is something that, outside of the Jumpstart, it's something that personally I have a lot to do with that. Like in terms of my interest, in terms of things that I'm looking at, ideas that I have, and projects that I care about internally and outside of Microsoft. When we started to do this thing for Jumpstart Agora, basically I told you, Seif, listen, take lead on the entire continuous integration, continuous delivery scenario for Contoso Supermarket and as part of Jumpstart Agora, which you did. And today I wanted to have you to talk about the thought process, the motivation, and why we did what we did here. So first thing first, do you mind maybe provide to our viewers some background on why we did this thing for Jumpstart Agora?
Yes, definitely. So when we thought about Agora, we wanted to have a real life scenario as much as possible. So for Agora, we're looking at industries, we're looking at how developers develop and deploy their applications from cloud to edge. And we also looked and talked with lots of developers to see what their current experience is. And CI/CD is one of the things that has been mentioned in most of those kinds of conversations, given how it makes developers just focus on their code and how it provides a consistent, scalable manner to deploy, test, validate applications, again, from cloud to edge or from cloud to anywhere. But for Agora, let's focus on edge. So we thought that this is an integral part of what we need to deliver and demonstrate in Agora.
And I know that you're going to show me some stuff today, but before you do that, Saif, I just want to share again, share another thing with our viewers here is that this is, I would say, this is probably would have been the most complex scenario or integration and development that we had for Jumpstart Agora. You will show a glimpse of that in the demo today because there's so much to unfold here, and obviously all the details you're going to share those as well. But I just want to really appreciate the complexity of this, and not in a bad way. I mean, that's kind of what we do in the Jumpstart. We take complex problems and we simplify those to a single unit of deployment and making sure that you're actually being able to look at the value proposition as fast as possible. So with that, Saif, show me the magic here.
Sure. So first, let's talk high level just to make things a little bit clearer on what we have. So in the Contoso supermarket, we have mainly three clusters or three stores, and those clusters run AKS Edge Essentials. Again, we're trying to mimic a real life scenario. We also have an AKS cluster, and each of those clusters represent a development environment. So we have dev, we have staging, we have canary, and we have production. And all of this environment gets deployed for you when you deploy Agora. So if we look a little bit closer inside them from a developer perspective, we have an inner loop and an outer loop. So the inner loop is really, as a developer, I need to make a change. Maybe it's an issue, maybe it's a feature request. I need to implement a change. So first, I test usually this change on a local environment. In this case, it's a local AKS Edge Essential cluster. And once my code is validated and is pushed, the code gets deployed to the next step, which is the staging environment, and in that case, it's an AKS cluster. Here, everything is, as I mentioned, an inner loop, meaning that it's not pushed to real stores for Contoso supermarket. In that stage, there is a manual process to say, yeah, this code is signed off, it's validated, let's start pushing it to the outer loop,
Hmm.
to actual stores. And the CI/CD pipeline do that, and we're going to demonstrate it. We start pushing by one of the production um, um, uh, clusters or stores. In that case, it's the Canary cluster. And again, we perform the same pipeline or the same workflow till we push this feature or the fix of this bug into the final production cluster. So
Yeah.
lots of steps, but again, as you mentioned, CI/CD makes this very smooth and consistent across
Hmm.
those four clusters and across those four different development environments.
Yeah, and I had multiple people reaching out after we started to publish, the daily tips for Jumpstart Agora. I remember when I put that post around the CI/CD and that eye candy diagram that we have there at the bottom, which has a lot of details to it. I got a lot of questions around. I guess not questions, but more like appreciation to the level of depth, the level of details that we included as part of this. And I heard people excited to try this out and see again, like this inner loop, outer loop. And you also mentioned the production, the canary, the staging. This is the thought process that we went through in those past months before we released Agora, to make sure that we are actually simulating an environment that you will see out there in the wild. So definitely something that I can appreciate, and I know that our community is appreciating as well.
Definitely, 100%. And as we've talked at the beginning, this is something that is based also on discussions with developers out there. So we're trying
Yeah.
to get their pain points, what they're doing, and trying to provide like a reference on how things should be done and demonstrate the different
Hmm.
diverse capabilities and features that we have to offer.
All right.
Okay, so let me just give a very quick demonstration of what's going on here. We're going to see all of this in the demo. And again, this is available in our README. So if you need more in-depth look, then definitely visit the Agora README that we're going to share. So initially, everything starts with the development or the local dev cluster, where as a developer, I'm working in VS Code or any other editor, and I start pushing code and testing it on the development cluster. And once I'm happy as a developer with the code I've written,
Hmm.
I start submitting a pull request to the base branch. And once this happens, immediately GitHub action or the first CI/CD pipeline, let's say the CI pipeline happens where we start doing some tests. We start building a new Docker image with the new build that the developer
Hmm.
has coded, pushing it to a container registry, and then automatically deploying this to the staging cluster. Again, all of this is within the inner loop. So as you can see, there is an auto-approved pull request because
Yeah.
everything is still inner loop. Um, Once this is deployed there, we're leveraging Flux on AKS and on the Arc-enabled Kubernetes clusters, which designated the stores. And there is the Flux the Flux is automatically configured to check the health of the application. Once
Hmm.
the application is deployed and in a healthy state, we automatically start building the new image for the next step in the outer loop, which is the canary image. And
Hmm.
this time, this is not automatic. Since we're going to the outer loop, there needs to be a release manager signing off this new build that the developer has done, so that this build gets the image gets built and then it gets deployed to the Canary cluster,
Hmm.
and the same process goes till we deploy successfully to the production cluster. So as you can see, different steps, different development
Yeah.
environment. At each workflow, there are different tests, different steps that are being made. So that's an overview about the full workflow.
Yeah. And needless to say that the infrastructure is deployed for you automatically as part of the Agora
Correct.
automation. And if you already went through the experience, now probably you have a better understanding of why we're asking you the personal access token for the GitHub repository that you fork. Because in order for us to do this, like with the GitHub Actions integration, and again, if you looked at the automation, you will see that there's a lot of things that are happening against your fork as the automation is touching it. So again, this kind of encapsulates this entire experience in a single image.
Correct. And not just the infrastructure that is deployed for you, all the GitHub workflows, all of the
Yeah.
code, everything that you need to edit, everything using this personal access token gets deployed into your fork. So you have a
Hmm.
complete GitHub repo with application and also with the workflows
For
that
sure.
we're demonstrating here. Yeah. Okay, so given that, if you don't mind, let's jump into the demo to show you
Sure.
how does this look in
Show me the
Agora.
magic.
Sure, let me jump. Okay, so here I'm on the client VM. This is um, your first door to Agora. Let me first show you what we have in the application. So you're going to find configured for you. There are some couple of bookmarks. We're going to focus on the POS application. And as you can see, for every cluster that we have two links, one for the customer interface and one for the manager interface.
Hmm.
So I've already opened, this is the the application running on dev cluster, running on staging. And I have also the canary and the production. So
Hmm.
as you can see, it's a very simple checkout application. The only thing that is missing is we don't have like a checkout or a cart navbar here showing me how many items I've added to my cart. So
Yeah.
as a developer, this is a feature request that I need to go add. Um, so this is something that I'm gonna do right now.
Hmm.
So let me jump into code immediately. And as you can see, as I open VS Code, I already have my uh, Contoso Supermarket source code available.
Hmm.
You're going to find in the README steps, detailed steps on what you need to do.
Yeah.
But as a developer, the first thing that I'm going to do before editing the code is really to create a new branch. So I'm going to create a branch called checkout.
Hmm.
Okay. And as the branch gets created, I'm just going to publish it to my fork. So now I'm ready to safely um, edit the code in um, VS Code. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the exact location where the nav bar is located so that I can edit and add this functionality of checkout. So
Hmm.
I'm going to go to templates. And again, all of this is documented, so you don't
Yep.
have to memorize it. To make things easier for our users, we already added the code but commented it in terms of adding the checkout. So all I need to do is just uncomment this to add this checkout functionality in my code.
It's
So
very
just,
safe, it's very jumpstarty of us, to do this.
yeah,
Just gonna
yeah.
have that block of code and comment that, and just tell you, hey, imagine that you just wrote this code. But yes.
Yeah, don't worry. We're not going to ask you to figure out how to add a checkout using code. We have this for you. So
Yeah.
so as I save this code, what I'm going to do is I'm just GitHub is going to, sorry, VS Code automatically is going to tag there is new change. I'm going to just add the commit message as you always should do and push my code to GitHub.
Hmm. So basically, the push that you are doing right now goes to your fork, correct?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Hmm.
So let me jump now to GitHub. So now as a developer, my work is done. I've added the functionality in code. So going to GitHub, you can see that automatically I can see that I have a new branch. So
Hmm.
I'm going to go to my branch and I'm going to merge this to main. So I'm going to select my fork and can see my changes, and I'm going to create a pull request and merge it. So let's merge it, and then let's see what happens in the backend. Okay. So if I go to actions, you're going to find automatically there is a GitHub action that runs automatically. So if I double click on this GitHub action, this is called promote to staging. So I've done my testing on my local dev environment.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to push the code to the staging environment. So the GitHub action is really building a new Docker image from
Yeah.
the code that I've just built. And then you're going to find some tests running, pushing the image to the container registry, and then push this to the staging environment. This is going to take a couple of minutes. So we'll just wait till this completes to see how this reflects on our clusters.
So while this is running, just I want to just an observation how similar the what we put here in GitHub Actions and the description that you see as part of this flow, right? These are the action steps basically. And now coming back to the architecture diagram, it's almost like the architecture diagram describing you the flow. And then once you zoom in into the GitHub Action, you actually see what's happening behind the scenes. And I do want to highlight a few things here, right? There is the images that we are creating for you, like the base images, right? The Docker container images. There is the GitHub action that is also integrating with container registry, which is also getting deployed for you, right? And then the auto promotion and the auto approval and all that. So again, a super comprehensive experience, if you think about it, in the context of a full CI/CD process. Right now, we're just looking at the CI portion of it. And soon we'll see the CD portion of it, but super comprehensive stuff.
Correct. Yes. Yes. And again, the main point here is all of this is deployed for you. If you go to the resource group that gets deployed, you're going to find the container registry, and you're going to find different versions of the applications that get deployed. You're going to find different images deployed, and as you interact with the code and follow the README, you're going to find more versions of the code being the image being deployed to the ACR. So it's a very real life scenario that you would see in production.
Cool.
Yeah. This will just take a couple of minutes. So till this happen, one thing I want to show is for the GitHub repo, you're going to find a branch for each environment. So ideally, in a production environment, um, you would have different setup, but here, to make things easier for you, for each environment, we represent it by a branch. And within each branch, you're going to find that we're using Helm releases to be able to detect the changes of code in GitHub and then deploy this automatically to your clusters.
Yeah.
So ideally in production, you would have maybe a repo for the actual code and a repo for the GitOps configuration. But to make things compact and easy, we have all of this using branches.
Yeah. We didn't want you to deal with 3 repositories, just 2 as the minimum. And we're also taking advantage of the native Helm integration that Flux is having. So yeah.
Correct. Yes. And now we have the action has completed. Let's jump back to our application. And if I go to staging, which is this link, and I click refresh, you're going to see that the checkout feature has been added. So as a developer, you've successfully added a new feature to your application, and you can see it is working.
Yeah.
So we're still at the the inner loop. So now if I go to if I go to staging, it's still running. So as I mentioned, we're using Flux to detect the health of the application. So now this action is running to check if the application has been successfully deployed to staging. Once this happens, a pull request is going to be created automatically, against the Canary branch. So it's telling the Canary cluster that there is a new version of the application, and we're waiting for a release manager to validate and then merge this pull request so that we can move this v1.1 of the POS application to the Canary. And the same process is going to repeat itself on the production cluster as well. So once this completes, we're going to see a pull request appearing here that we can merge and see the change propagating to the Canary cluster. So just to validate, if I go to, this is the Canary cluster, if I refresh, I'm still on v1.0. I don't have the checkout feature. So let's jump back here. Now, once the action has completed, I can go to pull requests, and you can see that I have a new pull request that was created automatically to update the Canary image to v1.1. This is the version of the application that has the checkout feature.
Yeah.
So as a release manager, I can go to this pull request, review it, look at monitor the staging cluster, make sure everything is as expected, and then I'm going to merge this pull request. What I'm doing here is really instructing the workflow to take the v1.1 from the inner loop and deploy it to the outer loop.
Yeah.
So we can deploy the application in one of the production clusters. So in a matter of seconds, we're going to have a new workflow that starts running here to just do that, to deploy the v1.1 to the Canary cluster. So now, as you can see, the action has picked up to deploy this to the Canary cluster. So as I jump to the Canary application, you can see I still don't have the checkout. Once I do a refresh, v1.1 has now been deployed to Canary, as you can see. So I've moved from inner loop to outer loop. And then I can do the same for the final production cluster, again, do the PR, et cetera, and you get the idea. So that's the full CI/CD workflow, leveraging GitOps so that developers just focus on their code. They don't need to care about clusters or AKS or AKS Edge Essential. They need to focus on code, and GitOps and CI/CD takes care of the rest.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely an extensive experience. Doing GitOps related demos and pipeline demos are at least my favorites, because it shows something that is real, that is happening. You see like a flow, you see like you can show the backend, which is exactly what you did. And I especially like the fact that we integrated GitHub Actions to its fullest with the approval process. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Seif, for joining me for this episode. And for the Jumpstart audience, make sure to like, subscribe, to watch the rest of this video series. While you're there, give us a comment. Let us know if this is something that you feel that you're going to use, any questions, something that you think we might need to work on. And we're going to see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.